You're listening to the How to Talk to Girls podcast, where you'll learn step-by-step how to meet and seduce beautiful women, whether you're looking for one night of fun, a week-long fling, or a long-term relationship. I'm your host, Trip, and the episode starts now. Hello and welcome to another episode of the How to Talk to Girls podcast. This episode is inspired by a recent coaching call that I just did, but it's also inspired by many coaching calls, many questions that I get from people who either write into the podcast or ask me in my YouTube lives that I do on Wednesdays. And I thought, you know what? I think it's time to do an episode on this and really talk about kinds of women that I really just don't think that you should be approaching. There are some exceptions. We're going to be going over those. We're going to go into detail about why I don't think you should be approaching these women and when are the best times to approach these women if the chance ever occurs. Okay, so we're going to get into it. Now, like I said, I took this question that was inspired by a coaching client, someone that I work with, where we get on the phone every single week and we go over a specific plan that I've created for him to go out and do approaches. And so what ended up happening was he had a set of approaches to do and he did them. And then he asked me a question. He goes, Trip, now there's this waitress that's really cute of this restaurant that I go into. And I really want to try and, hit on her, attract her, pick her up, whatever. I just want to talk to her. I want to get her interested in me. What should I do? You know what my answer was? My answer was, I don't want you to do anything. In fact, I don't want you to be talking to her in any other form than what she's meant to be talked to about, which is, of course, ordering food, maybe very small chit chat, and that's it. So that brings me to the first one. I do not want you to be trying to hit on waitresses. Now, I know this is a pretty bold statement, and some of the things I'll be saying on this episode are pretty bold because there's tons of information out there about how to pick up waitresses and workers. They're called PUA world. They're called hired guns. No idea why they're called hired guns, but either way, we're talking about meeting people who are working. So no, I do not want you to be hitting on waitresses or women who are working or whatever, anyone who's doing their job. You should not be hitting on them. Now, you might be thinking, Trip's getting real moral on us. Like, what is it? Like, he doesn't want us to bother the girls who are working because they're doing their job. No, it has nothing to do with that, actually. It has nothing to do with that. I don't think it's going to be a big deal if you ask a waitress out, in terms of her work. But what I think is a big deal is you doing this thing where you plan. You plan on trying to create a perfect approach for a waitress or someone working at a clothing store or at a grocery store, wherever you're going to be meeting a woman who's working, right? And so you come up with this plan or you want to know a plan. But you know what? There is no plan. There is no plan. I don't want you to look at it like that because A, it's going to put you into what's called scarce mindset. It puts you in a scarce mindset because any time that you're planning to go after one woman, one specific woman, you're in trouble. Now, of course, it's different if you're asking, well, how do I, in general, hit on a waitress? Well, it's the same way you would hit on anyone else. There's really not much of a difference, okay? There's not much of a difference. But when you're asking, how do I plan to get that one woman, that one girl who I see, you put yourself in the scarce mindset. You reinforce scarcity. And this is what I'm trying to teach you when I talk a lot about on my content is reinforcing scarcity, okay? It took me a long time to finally come up with a way to really help guys understand this, but that's the best way I can put it. You reinforce scarcity by planning to go after one woman because the odds are that it's probably not going to work out. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm just saying that more in a realistic way, right? Your batting average, you're never going to hit 100. So stop planning and stop figuring out how to get that one girl, whether it's a waitress, whether it is your friend that you're in the friend zone with, that one girl that you see all the time. Okay. Scarce mindset. So I guess this is going to easily just lead me into the next ones, right? The 3 women to never approach: waitresses, girls at the gym, and I'm going to leave the third one for last because there's a few reasons why I don't want you to approach them. But waitresses and girls at the gym, kind of the same idea. Guys always say there's that one girl at the gym. There's that one girl at the gym. How do I approach that one girl at the gym? You just approach her in any other way. There's no special way. You just got to start conversation with them. So I know you're thinking, well, Trip, if you don't want me to approach them and you want me to get in this, and you don't want me to get into this scarce mindset, what am I supposed to do? What you're supposed to do is practice getting into the abundant mindset. The way you're going to get into the abundant mindset is you're going to be just approaching anyone that you want to talk to. Okay? But in this initial case, let's not go after waitresses. Let's not go after girls at the gym. It's too much planning and prepping. I don't want you planning and prepping. I just want you to be a social guy. So here's what I want from you. And this is where the exception comes in, because I'm not saying never, ever in your whole life approach a waitress or a girl at the gym. But I want you to do that when you have the social skills and you're ready. It is very challenging to get a girl at the gym. She's in the middle of a workout. It's very challenging to get a waitress. Well, she's working, right? She's not in the mode of meeting a man. Now you might be saying, well, Trip, you tell us to approach on the street. They're not in the mode either. Well, it's different. They're a little bit more in the mode when they're just walking down the street at their grocery store than when they're really focusing on something specific, like a waitress or a worker or a girl at the gym. Like they're doing something very specific, very intense. So I'm not saying don't do it because it's hard. But what I want you to do instead is I really want you to be going out and just focusing on approaching women that are a little bit more ready for conversation. Get really good at being able to hold conversations, at being able to get your charisma going, get your comfortability going with women. And then once you're at this place where you're just this guy who's always being social and talking to women and starting conversations and always flirting and having a good time, then when it happens to be in that case that you really just want to be approaching a waitress who's waiting on you, then you'll be ready and you'll just kind of do it. So I don't want you to plan for it. I don't like these, how do you approach the girl in this specific situation when she's at the gym or she's working, or these very specific kinds of women. Instead, I just want you to go out and approach women at bars, at clubs, during the day, at parties, either one of those or all the above. I always tell guys, especially my coaching clients, I say to my coaching clients, I know, I get it. You're not a bar guy, right? I get coaching clients that say, listen, Trip, I'm not a bar guy. Really, it doesn't matter if you're a bar guy or not a bar guy. Because the idea is if you want to get better at meeting women and getting a lot of leads in the funnel, meaning having a lot of women to practice on, to approach, then you got to go to the places that women are at. And it's not about going to the restaurant with that one waitress or that one girl at the gym who's really pretty. That's not going to get you better. What's more important is going to be you going out and approaching a lot of women instead of strategizing how to get that one. Let that one kind of come to you when it happens, when you are going about your everyday life. So my goal for you is to start working on going out in the real world and approaching lots of women so you can get to the point when you're just going about your everyday life and then you see a woman you want to talk to, then you just know how to strike a conversation with that woman. Most of the time, that's going to be a woman who's not working. But of course, there's going to be those times when the girl is going to be at the gym or the waitress or whatever, but you'll be ready to go. Otherwise, you just trying to figure out the specific perfect way so you don't get rejected to approach that one woman who's working or that one friend or whatever, it's most likely not going to work. You're already doomed. And again, I'm not trying to put you down. I'm on your side. I'm trying to help you here. So I'm not speaking down to you, okay? I'm speaking with you. And I want you to know that you're better off trying to go out and approach lots of women to practice, to then be, again, like I've been saying, be the guy who's just finally able to talk to that one girl who's working or waitress or whatever and finally ask them out. Even if you're the best person in the world at meeting women, it's still going to be very challenging. You're probably going to find that when you really get good at meeting women, you're not going to want to bother. You're not going to want to bother because you're already going to be meeting other women. You're not going to want to bother. You're going to be already dating other women where it's just a lot easier. Again, I'm not trying to get you to be lazy here. If anything, the opposite. I really want you to work harder, right? I really want you to work harder at approaching more women so that it becomes an absolute part of your life. Let's go to number 3, the third woman to never approach. This one is related to what I've been saying. So let's just replicate all the reasons why for this next one, but I want to add something. So the next one is your coworkers. And I get it. That's a very common place to meet women because you're there all day, 40 hours a week, maybe even more. And so you end up being friendly with that one girl who works wherever, somewhere in your building or somewhere in your business, and you become close and you start to fall for someone. And that's normal, right? You're going to fall for someone if you spend a lot of time with them. Most likely, you're going to start to find that you're crushing on them a little bit. It's crazy how that works. So I understand you want it, but it's the same idea as I've been saying, right? Is that you're just trying to plan and reinforce scarcity by going after that one girl and again, what I mean by reinforce scarcity is when you try to go after one woman, you're basically saying that she's so special and there's no one else out there. That is what you're saying. And I get it. There's some women who are more special and more qualified to be your partner, whatever. But there's still so many out there. And strategizing is not going to do much because you already have to be the confident, social, fun guy. Okay. So if you're already strategizing, you're probably doomed. Remember, I said that. But that's okay because you have the option of going out and meeting other women. Okay. Back to coworkers. Coworkers. Another reason why this is bad is because you've heard this saying before, don't shit where you eat. You ever heard that before? Don't shit where you eat? What that means is you don't want to screw up in an area that is very important to you. You are working. You are going to be there every day. I'm working with another client right now that's saying the same exact thing. By the way, if you are interested, in being a client and you want to work on these things together and you want an approach, schedule, and a plan and accountability and get you to the next level of your dating life, go to coachedbytrip.com. That's where people are able to apply. And then you and I can get on the phone and see if coaching is a good fit for you. So that link is in the show notes, coachedbytrip.com. And we can do coaching together and get you success in all these different areas of your dating life. Confidence, flirting, options, whether you want casual relationships or something more serious. We'll help you do that. I'll be there for you, one-on-one. So go to coachedbytrip.com today. So my point here is that one of the guys I was working with, he said that he went after a girl at his work and she rejected him. And he's like, oh no, now I got to see her every single day. I go, I know. He goes, it's terrible. I go, you know what's worse than that? And he said, what? I said, what's worse than that is what if you guys did end up dating? What if it did work out? You asked her out, she said yes. And then you date, and then you fall in love. And then boom, you're together for 9 months. And then bam, she or you break up with each other. And then you got to see the person. That is way worse. So I said, you're lucky, my friend. You dodged a bullet. Yeah, okay, it's uncomfortable. She rejected you. No big deal. You just go back to work and you don't make a big deal out of it. But it's really tough to do that when you're really, really heartbroken and when you just are trying to get over a person. And of course, the only way to get over a woman is to completely stop talking to them, stop looking at their social media. But what are you going to do? This is your work. It's not easy to get a new job, at least not for most people. Can't just get a new job. Oh, broke up with a girl, let's get a new job, right? It's going to be a challenge for you. Avoid that at all costs. Avoid that. Plus, sexual harassment, you don't want to play with that. What if you end up flirting with the girl and she's taking it funny and you do something that could be potentially inappropriate? Well, you're in the workplace. This is no good. You can get fired. This could be a big deal. So there's so much argument against not dating a coworker. It's such a bad idea. I want you to stay away from it. Never approach a coworker. And of course, like I said before, I got to say it again, repeating myself to really just tattoo this on your brain, reinforcing scarcity. Reinforcing scarcity. Only going for the women that are right there. that are right there, that are, quote, easy to get because you spend a lot of time with them. Don't do that to yourself, man. You have options. A lot of guys, they just think that they don't have options because they don't think they're good looking enough or they have enough money or they have enough going for them. Well, that's why you're listening to this podcast, right? To get better. That's why you're doing this. You're doing this so you can get to the point where you are better with women and you don't have to rely on coworkers. You don't have to rely on girls at the gym or waitresses or any of that stuff. You don't have to strategize. You can be free to approach and talk to any woman that you want. So when you see a coworker, even though she might be amazing and sweet to you and beautiful and all that good stuff, you're not going to care because you're going to say, not worth it. Plenty of other women out there. Why deal with the potential of dating a coworker with all the nonsense that could come along with it, right? It's a big deal. It's a big, big deal. So we want you to stay away. So I highly recommend you stay away from coworkers, okay? Never approach a coworker. Don't approach any women at the gym. No waitresses. I don't want you to reinforce scarcity. You are now entering the abundant mindset zone. I want you to reinforce abundance. How do we reinforce abundance? We talk to a lot of women, lots of women, not these ones that I just mentioned, but other ones, the ones at bars, clubs, parties, and any other social setting and out during the day, out and about, walking around, malls, grocery stores, things like that. That's what we're going to do. Of course, you can always throw in an app or a dating site too. You can do a little bit of everything there. But that's what I want you to do, my friend. I want you to focus on reinforcing abundance because there's so many women out there. And I've said this in other episodes too. If you really don't think you live in a town that has a lot of women, you then move. Okay? That's going to be the next step for you. You move. So please understand your new job is to disregard all the pretty waitresses, the pretty bartenders, and the coworkers, and anyone working, anyone at the gym, okay? I want you to focus on what's important here. Eye on the prize, which is women outside of that. What do you say we get into some questions? Let's do it. Let's get into some questions here. We got one. And if you have a question, you can email me, trip@tripadvice.com. Put in the subject line podcast question, and I will get to it as soon as possible. We are a month behind, so just keep listening and email in, and we'll hopefully get to it. Right now, here's one from December 17th. They say, "Hi, Trip. I've been listening to your podcast for the past few months, and I enjoy immensely your practical and insightful advice. I have two questions that are somewhat related to each other. The first question, in a club or bar, when an approach is unsuccessful and you get rejected, is there a better way to leave the situation, i.e. a better response, so that you leave this encounter better off psychologically and or socially? I understand that we should not care much and just accept it naturally, but girls go back to the same place often and have other friends. It may be a good idea to show some grace." Okay, I'm going to answer that first question real quick. Yeah, there is. And it's funny because I do get this question a lot too with coaching clients. They're like, what do I do if it doesn't work out or they reject me or I need to leave or it's just not working out? All you got to do is say, well, no worries. Listen, it was nice to meet you. Have a great rest of your night. Smile, walk away. That's it. Well, listen, no worries. It was great to meet you. Have a great rest of your night. That's it. You're going to feel good about it. They're going to feel good about it. And then it's not a big deal. And then, of course, if anything happens and maybe you run into them later, it's going to be positive and maybe you end up re-engaging with them later and you end up meeting one of their friends. Who knows? But smile, no worries. Nice to meet you. Have a great rest of your night. Boom. Okay, next. Second question, he says, I've heard you telling callers to give up on girls they don't know and have created a fantasy about them. Wow, this question is very, very good for today's episode. He said, they don't know and have created a fantasy about them. Someone they see at work, or some other place all the time. However, if you try to approach someone, having full knowledge that your chances to get anywhere are very slim, shouldn't you do it? It seems that you would at least learn something and get it over with. Thanks again for the great work. I'm from Brazil. What's funny is I did not actually pick this question specific for this episode. I just kind of go down the line of the ones that are in order chronologically. But wow. So that answers your question, M from Brazil. If you've been listening to the rest of the episode, which I know you have, right? So your chances are slim. Should you do it? No, because again, you're reinforcing that scarcity. And plus, if it's slim, what's the point? It's not going to do much for you. What's going to do more is doing the approaches that are just cold approaches. And then that's going to prep you for those times when you actually, well, hopefully you actually never get to the point where you fantasize about a woman. I don't want you ever to get to that point. If you're following the advice on this episode, you should never get to the point where you're fantasizing about any woman, because you shouldn't ever have the time to fantasize, because if you like someone or you're interested in someone, you should be going after them right away. There's no lag time. I don't want any lag time between you and the girl. If you're interested, you go for it. If she's not interested, then whatever, it's done. Of course, with the exceptions I talked about with the waitress and the coworkers and things like that, and girls at the gym. But really, I'm just saying that you should, if you're interested, just go for it, okay? No planning, just go for it. Get the rejection. Guys who plan so much are trying to avoid rejection. This is my big point here on this episode. Guys are trying to avoid rejection, so they strategize. What can I do? What can I say? How can I do it? How can I do it? Of course, it's okay to be strategized at the whole idea of an approach in general, but for one specific girl, not good. Not good. Don't try to avoid rejection. Don't worry. Get rejected. And if you're too scared of rejection, that means you're not getting rejected enough. Okay? So that's my answer for you. Great question. Thank you for writing in. Let's go to the next one. Okay, this one is from Naman. Okay, Naman. So, hey Trip, big fan of the podcast. I desperately need your help. I really want to hook up with this girl, but I think she has put me in the friend zone. Once she was drunk, she called me cute and started to grind on me. I was a pussy to make the move. Later, she told her friends that she did not remember and wasn't interested, and told me that she did it because she didn't want to dance with some creep who was trying to. Whenever we are together, we talk, but don't sit very close together. And I think she is interested in my friend. Part of the problem is because I don't know how to talk and act around girls. What should I do now? I don't know what to do. Please help me out. I would really appreciate it. Naman, again, what a great question for today's episode. See what's happening here? He nailed it right there with that one sentence. He said, part of the problem is because I don't know how to talk and act around girls. So don't try to strategize what to do with one girl. And if you've been listening intently, then you know what I'm going to say next. Instead, try to get better at talking to women in general, so when the time comes, you can take advantage of the situation. I'm not saying take advantage of drunk girls, not at all. I'm saying taking advantage of the opportunity for a girl that you're interested in, okay? So there's nothing you can do. She's not interested, okay? Her friends told you that she's not interested, so you move on. See, I get it though. You got to taste. This is what gets dangerous. Guys got to taste that one girl, right? That one girl, they get a taste. They get that kind of like, oh, she's interested in me. Oh, she was cute. And then they obsess. By the way, I am guilty. I'm guilty. I am no better than anyone else. I've been in so many situations where what happens? Well, what happens is you end up falling for a girl who showed you a little bit of attention, and you strategize and then eventually get rejected anyways. So I know what it feels like. And I don't want you to do that anymore, because I know how terrible it feels and how much it just doesn't help you. It's just not productive. It doesn't help you at all. All right, I'm feeling good. Let's do one more question here. Hey, let me go straight to the problem, and sorry for my English. I know a girl for like 3 to 4 years. 2 months ago, she invited me to a Halloween party at her house, and I noticed some signs of interest, and she wanted to kiss, but I thought she was just playing. The next day we talked, and I made a move, and we ended up kissing. Then I tried to meet up with her, and she didn't want to. This ended up me in being needy. I fucked up. We met up after a month, and she told me she don't want to be with me. So as you advised in your video, to wait 2 to 4 weeks and then try to meet up. So I waited 3 weeks, and she wrote a message to me about nothing important. After 2 days, I asked her to grab a beer. I don't know if she's not interested or ready, as you mentioned in the video. What do? Wait another 3 weeks, ask her to grab a beer, or just wait until she talks to me? And if so, what to do when she talks to me? Thanks in advance. I'm sorry I cannot pronounce your name. I think it's Polish. I don't know. Wojciech. Okay. So I think you know what I'm going to say. Very similar to what I say to all the guys who are strategizing. And here it is. You do nothing. You never talk to her. It's over. She has basically showed you twice that she's not interested, the first time and now the second time. So what do? You learn how to meet other women. So the answer, which I'll be probably referencing again in other questions and later down the line in more content. So a guy is going to ask, what do I do for this one girl? The answer is always the same. You learn how to meet girls. You might be thinking, wait, Trip, huh? Yeah. The answer is forget her and learn how to meet girls. Learn the skill of seduction, of charisma, of communication, of conversation. This is what you need to be focusing on. So if you're trying to strategize after one girl, that just means that you're not focused enough on the strategy overall. So there you go, my friend. I hope that helps you today. I hope this has been mind-opening, mind-blowing. Don't forget, if you're interested in coaching, go to coachedbytrip.com today and fill out an application so you and I can work on getting you to the next level in your journey. Thanks for listening. Talk to you on the next episode.